everybody, it's Thursday, February 20th, 2025. Welcome to the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. We're wondering, why isn't it called the NFL Combine? It's me, your man, MJD Marcus Grant, joined by Michael F. Florio and Laquan Jones. LQ, you were back in New Orleans. You were there just, a week or two ago? It wasn't that long ago. Yeah. 2 weeks ago, right?
2 weeks ago.
How much different is the city now than it was 2 weeks ago?
It's a little bit colder, actually. Like, it was like 30 degrees this morning when I was walking to go get breakfast. And the wind is like 18 miles per hour. I'm like, yo, where the heck am I at right now? Like, am I really down south? Like, this is crazy.
Now, Florio, you're going to New Orleans sometime in the near future, correct?
Yeah, I have a bachelor party that I'm actually the one throwing. I haven't planned it out per se just yet, but
come on,
I'm
bro.
the one planning it. So I need some recommendations. I'm gonna have to talk to you guys and apparently Steve Weish.
Yeah.
Steve Weish. Yes.
Yeah.
He's the mayor.
Steve is like kind of the unofficial mayor of New Orleans. If you need to know where to go eat, what to go do, Steve is probably a guy to talk to. I would also suggest talking to Greg Rosenthal, who is an alum of Tulane University from right there in New Orleans. So nice. Go talk to Rosie too. He may have some, I'm sure, some recommendations, some suggestions for you for this one. We are going to do kind of some more mock draft stuff, but this is more sort of NFL mock draft related. Daniel Jeremiah put out his mock draft 2.0. There were some interesting things in there I think we want to dive into. Also, Maurice Jones-Drew put together his rankings of the top 74 running backs. I kind of looked at the top 10, and we can kind of kick that around because we just did our own fantasy rankings just last week on the show. Coming up, starting, I think, next week or maybe the week after. I got to check my dates again, but we'll start getting into free agency stuff too, because the new league year begins in very short order. So we will very soon start previewing the free agents, what we think they should do or what we would like to see them do to help our own selfish fantasy purposes. So we'll do that in just a little bit. But I want to start with one quick news headline. Eagles quarterback coach Doug Nussmeier is heading down to New Orleans, where you are right now, Laquan, to join Kellen Moore. He will be the offensive coordinator, that is Nussmeier, with Moore as the head coach. I know we talked a little bit about it last week with Moore taking the head coaching job down there. Laquan, you were very much on I still don't think I'm in on Chris Olave. Does this make you any more in on Chris Olave?
Well, two things real quick. It's kind of funny being in the Saints faculty yesterday and seeing some of the coaching staff. And then I guess the sports science guy that's going to be operations over there got hired, and he's like sitting at the table across from me. I'm like, what the heck? Like, that's weird to see that news, to actually see him so nonchalant just eating. And then it's been now in the last 2 weeks I've seen and ran into Chris Olave. I haven't spoken to him. I haven't said anything to him, just seeing him. And it's like, wow. That satchel of, what do we call it? Discontent?
The satchel of discontent? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's starting to unravel. So I am kind of getting more on board with Chris Olave this season, not because I'm seeing him in person. It's more so of just the moves that they're doing with Kellen Moore, the QB coach, and hopefully they bring in a competent quarterback to where, they can get this offense more on a scoring, opportunity situation, because Chris Olave needs more touchdowns. That's always been my problem with Chris Olave. It's like he doesn't have that quarterback that's going to be able to get him touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. We draft him as a wide receiver one. We don't get the wide receiver one return. We keep drafting him high in drafts every single summer, but we don't get that ADP, for him to smash it. So I'm liking all the changes that they're doing right now. Everything seems to be on course. They just need to make the button tight when they go get Jalen Monroe in the second round.
All right. So, Florio, in the mock draft that we all did together a few days ago, Chris Olave was the first pick in the 5th round. Is that okay with you? And is that going to maybe start to move up a little bit with some of these changes?
To me, this doesn't really move the needle all that much, because it's still going to be Kellen. Like, I was excited for Kellen Moore because I think Kellen Moore is a good, smart, offensive-minded coach. And especially for fantasy, he likes to throw the ball downfield. He likes to run an up-tempo paced offense, which usually means more plays, which means more opportunities for yards and touchdowns, all of that. I I do think Chris Olave gets pulled, especially I think it depends on what they do at quarterback. If we come into next year and Derek Carr's the starting quarterback, I could see him going in that range still. If they make a more exciting move, Chris Olave is definitely getting pulled up because the fantasy community just absolutely loves him.
Mhm.
But to me, this hire is just like, it's someone that has rapport with Kellen Moore. They have chemistry. We know they obviously work well together. So to me, I don't, have they stated which one is going to be actually calling the plays yet?
I don't know if that has been announced yet. I think we're still waiting.
I feel like either way, though, it's going to be Kellen Moore's fingerprints all over this offense. So to me, this doesn't really change anything. Although his son, the new OC, his son is the quarterback for LSU. So that's a pretty cool story.
Yeah. Garrett Nussmeier, who, it's okay. I mean, I saw a little bit of him last year. I think he definitely needs some development, a little more seasoning. But being the starting quarterback at LSU means you're not a total slouch. So very curious kind of how this is going to work out.
All their eggs in this family's basket.
Pretty much. The whole state, the whole Bayou State's gone all in on the Nussmeiers. So we'll see. We'll see how this turns out. We did do the mock draft recap on Tuesday show. Laquan, you were in the air on your way to the Crescent City, but we have questions.
Thankfully, you landed.
Yes, thankfully you landed safely. So congrats to you on that. But we do have questions about your mock draft because you did not get a chance to speak for yourself on this one. Mainly three things that are all Ram related because you have been the chief flag bearer of the Puka Nacua, maybe even at 1.01, but certainly in the top three. You had a chance to get Puka at 4. You passed on him. Please explain.
So I wanted to honestly see, because like I saw the room, I read the room very well. Like we were in a room with, some of the people that were really sharp about how they were going to draft. So I honestly just wanted to gauge how far Puka was going to fall. And like he fell in the back end in that first round to where I'm like, interesting. If I do end up drawing a pick and I'm at that 106 through to 112 spot, I still have Puka Nacua in my heart to be able to be on my team. Because honestly, I'm taking that one-on-one. I'm going to stamp that, flag that. I'm going to be very aggressive with that. And this is all based on with the cap salary being moved up a couple more $1 million. So that's a little wiggle room for Matthew Stafford to get restructured and stay. Now, obviously, if Matthew Stafford's not there, then okay, then I'm not taking Puka at 101. But overall, I just wanted to see where he was going to end up in that first round.
Speaking of which, and we'll get to this a little bit later. Actually, we'll say this for a little bit later because there is some Matthew Stafford rumblings going on. We'll dive into that in just a little bit.
I don't know. I think me and you are now the Puka guys on the pod, Marcus.
Apparently we're actually the Puka stands here, and Laquan was cosplaying as a Puka stand for a while. I don't know. The other part to this, you were very hesitant when it came to the subject of Kyren Williams. You have been very, I don't know how to describe it, sort of, I won't say out on Cooper Kupp. I think you're just willing to sort of, move on from Cooper Kupp, yet you drafted both of those guys. You took Kyren in the second round. You took Cooper Kupp in the 6th round. Your thought processes on that?
Well, Kyren, based on the wraparound in that second round where I got him, I didn't really like my choices at running back, and I didn't want to reach on Joe Mixon, who I ended up getting anyway in that 4th round. So it was more so looking at it as like, man, I had my questions about James Cook, who was still, on the board there. It was like either between those two, but I just felt more comfortable with Kyren, just being that I know he's going to get the workhorse load, or we're going to get more versatility in this offense next year out of Sean McVay's mouth, saying that, he wants to change things up. And with Mike LaFleur there, so at the OC, he's coming from the Jets. We've seen Breece Hall catch over like 70 to 90 balls. Like it was crazy. The running backs were heavily involved in that passing game. And that's what I'm hoping for, for Kyren to get more involved in that passing game because he can catch. My only issue with Kyren is that he keeps dropping the ball. So if we limit his opportunities of carrying the rock in crucial moments, maybe we give Blake Corum some run. Maybe we get him, Marcus, you drafting him was kind of like a punch in the face to me because I was going to wait to grab him as a handcuff. But thankfully, these are mocks. These are mock drafts, thankfully. But that was just my thinking there with Kyren. Now to Cooper, I think Cooper still has football left in him. I think he's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder no matter where he goes. I mean, honestly, I want him to stay, but I understand that it's time to move on. Like the mantle has been given to Puka. Like it's just clear as day. Cooper Kupp is not the same wide receiver he was in 2021.
How about this? How about the Niners and Rams just swap receivers?
We get Debo.
You get Debo, we'll take Cooper Kupp. I don't know if I really like that. I don't know if I want to have to deal with Debo twice a year.
I don't know. In a McVay offense, that might be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, look, to go from Shanahan to McVay, I think does the most to keep his value pretty stable. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
in fantasy, yeah.
Yeah, in fantasy at least. Yeah, right. Like going from Shanahan to McVay feels like a pretty even swap in terms of play calling and that sort of thing. So I don't know. I literally just thought about it just now. That's all.
Did you see the report that if the Rams do trade Matthew Stafford, they might start 49ers legend Jimmy Garoppolo? We're at that point of the year where reports are coming out that they trust Jimmy G to be their starting quarterback. No, they don't.
No, they don't. No, I don't. That's what you say when you're trying to maybe engineer a trade. Like, oh yeah, no, we don't need Matthew Stafford. We got Jimmy G. Like, no one believes you.
Even Jimmy G. Jimmy G's that meme of the dude like holding the beer. Like me.
Yeah. Seriously, no, he really is. He's like, wait, really? Oh, he's like, I was just hanging out here enjoying Los Angeles. Like, what? I gotta do work now? Who knows? Well, since we're talking about it, that kind of gets me into Daniel Jeremiah's Mock Draft 2.0, which came out recently. You can find it, of course, over at NFL.com. Went through some of the notable selections that DJ has here. Number 2 is his first quarterback off the board. He's got Cam Ward going to the Cleveland Browns. I mean, Florio, I don't know if I remember. I think you stated you were a Cam Ward guy over Shedeur Sanders, correct?
Yeah, I like both of them. I think Sanders is a little bit more safer. Like, to me, when I watched him, he really reminded me a lot of like Alex Smith, like a guy who can run an offense, who has good tools, not great tools. But Cam Ward, to me, has that like he's not, I wouldn't say as polished. Maybe like day one could start as good as Sanders can. But those tools are absolutely elite, man. Like there's nothing he can't do on a football field. And I have become a believer in like, you want to take a shoot for the moon kind of approach. You take the tools and you hope that you can coach. Because to me, his one big negative when I watch him play is that I think he trusts his arm a little too much and he tries to force throws too often. But if you're a good coach, you can coach that out of a player.
You should be familiar with that.
You can't coach being able to throw 80 yards, So, like, give me Cam Ward.
Yeah, quite as a point. You as a Bills fan should be used to that sort of thing.
Yeah, a lot of hero ball. Like, you should be wanting that. Like, it gives you the thrill of watching him play. I mean, I love Cam Ward. I got him over Shedeur just based on there's stuff that he does you can't coach, like you can't teach. Like, his pocket awareness and his evasiveness out of the pocket and being so elusive is Patrick Mahomes like. Like, there's no way you can coach that for any quarterback. Like, you cannot. Like, it's either you have it or you don't.
He has a knack where, like, exactly, like, he is so good in the pocket. Like, I call it, like, he trolls people on the field. Like, he knows I have enough time to get to the sideline, but I'm going to do it as slow as possible to let you get close to me, but you can't touch me. Like, he's actively out there messing with people, and I've never seen a player do that before.
It's like he's like the kid on the playground that when you play tag, who kind of stands near base and just waits, and like when you start to get close, and he puts his hand out, right? Yes. Like I'm on base. Like that's him.
I hated that kid.
That's Cam Ward going to the sideline where he's just kind of cruising, and he sees the defender get close, and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna step out of bounds." And that's kind of it there.
Nah, we're rolling that kid out.
Well, I vote that kid in just because I think that means something for Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, and the rest of the pass catchers there. I think this offense is transitioning. I don't expect Nick Chubb back. I think we're going to see this become more of a pass-heavy offense as opposed to one that had been centered around a really strong running back, because I think that running back is done, at least in Cleveland, in the near future.
I have thoughts, man. If you're the Titans, why are you like? I'm not saying Abdul Carter isn't the best player in this draft. Like DJ knows way more than I do, but like you need a quarterback. And then two, for Cam Ward's sake, don't put him on a team where he gets no benefit of being on a rookie contract because you're giving the most guaranteed money to a dude who's not going to play. Like, please don't strap his future to Deshaun Watson's. I want no quarterback should want to end up in Cleveland.
I think Deshaun Watson's future, at least in Cleveland, is done. It may be a wrap in the NFL.
But that money's on the books.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, ain't my money. But in the meantime, I think there's a roster spot that will be available in the very near future for sure. So the one that was really interesting to me, Travis Hunter, who is right now listed as wide receiver / cornerback. I assume he'll be, athlete ATH at the combine. But DJ has him going number 3 to the New York Football Giants. And one of the responses to DJ's tweet, someone asked, so what changed with your Giants pick in 2 weeks? They're desperate for a quarterback, but go Hunter? Are they out on Shedeur? And DJ's response was a gif of Matthew Stafford waving as if to say, I'm going to be the quarterback of the New York Giants. So you said, Laquan, that it makes you upset. This whole thing, I'm sure it gives you a little bit of indigestion. Are you prepared for one James Richard Garoppolo to be your starting quarterback?
Absolutely not. No, I will leave Los Angeles. I will leave Los Angeles if Jimmy Garoppolo is our starting quarterback in 2025. There's no way that this logically makes sense. Like, I don't think that people understand that he gives us our best shot to even sniff a playoff. Like, he gives us our best opportunity to get back to the big dance. We have the young defense. We have the alpha wide receiver. We have a decent position in the draft, in the back end of that draft at 26, I believe. We can get some studs. We can get some wide receivers. Wide receivers are deep in these prospects. I think we have the right tools, the right pieces, the running game, the O-line we need to re-sign. Keep Matthew Stafford happy in LA. The dude's 37. Great. He could be 44. He's still going to ball. It doesn't matter.
I agree with everything LQ said from a Rams standpoint. Like, I think it's best for the Rams and for Stafford to stay together. But, like, I have a lot of friends who are Giant fans, and they're like, we need to make a move. We can't be like we were last year, and Stafford helps us win. And I'm like, but isn't that desperation on the GM and the head coach's part? And, like, you're not probably, at best, what are you making the playoffs with Matt Stafford? Probably, even if that, because that roster needs a lot of work. Like, I don't know. To me, just grab Sanders if he's there at 3 and see if you could build on your future. Because my argument to the whole, like, the head coach and GM need to save their job is if you draft Sanders and Sanders looks the part, you save your job naturally there. So I don't get this thinking for either side.
I think what it is maybe an admission that neither Cam Ward nor Shedeur Sanders, look, if they were in last year's draft, they might be QB 5 or 6. The fact that they are
guys where they are amongst.
What's that?
I was going to ask you guys if you've decided where they would rank amongst last year's.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're outside the top 5. Probably. I think they are where they are this year because they are the best of this group, but I don't know that it's the strongest group. I'll say this though, Florio. Look, I know you were a big Malik Neighbors guy for good reason. He goes 10th in our mock draft. If Matthew Stafford's there, does that put him in the top 5?
I joked with my Giant fans friends yesterday that if you give Malik Neighbors a Matthew Stafford, he's winning the Triple Crown. Like, he's going to get. He was already getting double-digit targets per game. Now, 1, they're going to be much higher quality. 2, he's going to have a quarterback who could actually still throw down fields. And 3, Matthew Stafford just some of the greatest wide receiver seasons ever. 2 of the greatest ever. Cooper Kupp, his Triple Crown year, and Calvin Johnson, his record-setting year, was just Stafford being like, you're clearly my best option. I'm only going to you. So, look, the Rams and Puka would be losers. I said I don't get it from the Giants standpoint, but yeah, Malik Neighbors would absolutely shoot up, and I would push him to. I don't know if he goes top 5 overall because You probably have a couple of running backs potentially going in there, but I think he would be a top 5 wide receiver off the board.
I mean, in no particular order, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CD Lamb, Malik Neighbors.
Would you take Puka or Neighbors if Stafford had? Because I'm taking Neighbors in that situation.
If Stafford's in New York, excuse me, I'm taking Neighbors over Puka.
Yes. Because like, oh my God, I'm getting triggered. I almost punched my laptop because it's like, it really does not make sense. Nothing makes sense for us to trade Matthew Stafford. There's nothing that makes sense for this to even happen. Like, it can't happen. It cannot happen.
We'll see. I mean, again, this is according to Daniel Jeremiah's speculation. Obviously, it's February. There's a long way to go. It's definitely an interesting discussion point. A couple others in the draft that I thought were interesting. Shedeur Sanders at 6 to the Raiders. I don't know. I don't know how I think Shedeur is the best. I think he's the second best quarterback in this draft. I think the ceiling isn't necessarily high for him. My comparison for Shedeur Sanders has been Geno Smith outside of the big Geno Smith year. I think it's fine. It's not great. That's so like, I don't know how much that gets me. Brock Bowers is going to be fine. I guess Jacoby Myers will be all right, but I don't know that it does anything for me. I don't know if it does anything for either of you.
I do want to say something. I made that same comp with Geno Smith to my friends, and they were ripping me in the group chat for hours. So I'm glad they're going to listen to this episode to hear it come from your mouth, Marcus, because they're huge fans of you. So whatever you say is so it's like, hey guys, Marcus said it, not me.
I will double down on that because I made that comparison to our friend and wide receiver whisperer Matt Harmon, and he also thought it was spot on. So there.
I wrote 2 Smiths when I was watching him play, Geno and Alex. Which both to me kind of feel like what Sanders is, I think. Like if you put the right offense around him, he could manage that thing and get you to the playoffs and stuff. But if you put him on a team barren of weapons and stuff, I don't think he can elevate you, like put the team on his back, something like the top quarterbacks do. And that's why I think Ward has that capability if he can get to that point. So that's why I just prefer Ward.
Yeah, no, I'm sort of with you on that one. DJ has Ashton Jonty to the Steelers at number 21. If that happens, Laquan, is that R.I.P. Najee Harris? I mean, what does that mean for the backfield then?
I mean, they already reported they're unlikely to franchise tag him. So I don't know if they've gotten the best product out of Najee. Like there's plenty of games that, people and Steelers fans that can pull up where Najee look great. But as an overall like workhorse running back, what you're trying to get at him, he's not Ashton Genty. He's not that. If you have Ashton Genty, say goodbye to Jalen Warren, say goodbye to Najee Harris. You put the crown on him and he is your Steelers running back. And that's definitely going to pull him up even further in that early second round. Like he might end up being like a 112 pick if he goes somewhere where you have Arthur Smith still calling the shots to have the run game be as strong as we've seen it in the past. So it's like, yeah, that's going to be major if he goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sort of curious. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I went on Insiders yesterday and was like, Jalen Warren could be a huge winner of free agency if Najee Harris walks, and this would be worse for him than if Najee Harris stayed.
Yeah, that would tank.
Yeah, no, it would tank Warren. It would also, I think, at least in the short term, sort of put a lid on Jonty as well. They're not going to not use Jalen Warren. He's still going to be part of the offense. And I think we're hoping to see Jonty somewhere where he can get a large role. I mean, that's why everybody keeps thinking Dallas, right? Because they move on from Rico Dowdle. They bring in Ashton Jonty. There's a whole lot of opportunity there. Pittsburgh, I think there's an opportunity. There's a chance, but kind of a little bit, nah.
I don't even think Dallas takes a running back in the first round as
Probably
much
not.
as they want to establish a run. They can go Ollie Gordon. He's another guy, Oklahoma State or Ohio State or Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
So it's like,
But you're expecting Jerry to be logical.
okay,
So,
yeah, you're right.
Here's the thing. Like the logical move is not
The
to
shirt is hitting today.
the Laquan, for you guys listening to the audio pod, he's wearing a shirt that says nothing makes sense. And, that's very true.
In Dallas especially.
Yeah, I think I think Jerry would like to take a running back in the first round, and I think everybody around him will tackle him and hold him down and keep him away from the phone to make that call. I think the last time something like that happened was when the Cowboys run the clock and Johnny Manziel was still available. I will tell you, I was in the newsroom at NFL Media when that happened. I have never experienced 10 more minutes of anticipation. I mean, there was an electricity and anticipation and excitement going through the newsroom because we all expected the Cowboys were going to draft Johnny Manziel. And I think what happened is they tied Jerry to a chair and prevented him from making the call and drafting
Push him in the
Manziel.
closet.
Yeah, just like we can't, dude. We just can't do it. A couple others. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from Ohio State, number 25 to the Houston Texans, which pairs him back up with his old college teammate CJ Stroud. The Texans have said they are interested in bringing back Stephon Diggs. So we'll see what happens with Tank Dell. Obviously, that gruesome injury means he may not be ready for the start of the season. So the Texans could be loading up at wide receiver a little bit. And then Florida, I want to ask you, Matthew Golden, wide receiver from Texas. DJ's got him going number 30 to the Bills. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch Golden, but at least your thoughts on adding more wide receiver help.
I haven't dove into his tape as much as I want, but what I have seen, I do like, and I think he would be a good fit for the Bills. And I love adding one more weapon to this offense because I think you saw at times last year, like the spread the ball out thing works until like you kind of need someone to step up in a big moment. and that's where you need someone who maybe, and Golden could potentially be that guy. But look, as long as Myles Garrett is still on the market, I'm saying that is the best use of that 30th overall pick. Send it to Cleveland, bring Myles Garrett to Buffalo, find a wide receiver in free agency or the draft or something. But if it goes this way, I will be happy.
So either way, MG Matthew Golden, MG Myles Garrett. That's what you're looking at right there in the first round for sure. Definitely not MG Marcus Grant because I'm slow getting off the line. My agility is suffering, and my hands are questionable. But other than that, I'm great.
I would pay money though to watch you play wide receiver for the Bills for a game.
Oh, it wouldn't last. It wouldn't last long. I think I can get under like 5.5. I'd like to believe.
You're not that slow.
Laquan said he would run a 4.7.
You're like
running 4.7 today.
You understand how fast 4.7 is, like in actual human terms?
I've done it in jeans and Vans when I was 19 years old at my high school track.
That was what, 13, 14 years ago?
That's a whole NFL career ago.
Okay.
The Rams were still in St. Louis at that point.
Seriously, the Rams were still in a different city then. All right. Over at NFL.com, our friend and colleague, Maurice Jones-Drew, you'll be surprised to know, wrote a piece about running backs. He put together his top NFL running backs of 2024 from number 1 through number 74. So this is based on what they did last season. Kind of curious your thoughts on whether or not he got his rankings right. I think in fantasy, it sort of tracks a little bit. And whether or not maybe you shuffle some things around for 2025. So we can go through his top 10. Number 1, no surprise, Saquon Barkley. Number 2 is Derrick Henry. Jahmyr Gibbs is at number 3. Bijan at 4. Josh Jacobs at 5. Jonathan Taylor at 6. Kyron Williams at 7. James Cook at 8. Joe Mixon at 9. Aaron Jones at 10. Florio, anything that jumps out at you that you think is a little bit sideways there?
No, I think the top 2 make sense after the year they just had. Like Saquon had the greatest year a running back had. Derrick Henry would have had the best running back season in any regular year. I do think the 3 and 4, though, in my humble opinion, are quickly going to become 1 and 2 in the league. But I do want to give a shout out to a friend of the show, Emery Hunt, because a couple years ago when we had him on during draft season, Jahmyr Gibbs was his RB1. And he was telling us that he was in a lot of hot water for that. And people were like, oh, you're a hot take artist and blah, blah, blah. And 2 years later, everyone is like, yeah, these are the top, clearly the 2 best running backs, blah, 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 blah. Like, so shout out to Emery Hunt, man.
Yeah, I mean, he did. He had him over Bijan. What's funny, and we have Emery on every year. I'm sure we'll get him on again this year before the draft, is that he always has 1 or 2 guys rated either way higher or way lower than the consensus. And every year he gets the same criticism that he's a hot take artist. He's just doing it for clicks. And more often than not, what Emery has projected sort of pans out. I mean, let's remember, Emery Hunt was the first place I heard Tariq Cohen's name a few years ago. So at this point, we got to stop thinking if you follow Emery, if you read his stuff, you got to stop thinking he's a hot take artist. He is watching all these guys.
He had Lamar as his QB1 in that stacked quarterback class. Like,
yeah. He's watching it. He's doing the work. He's got definitely strong opinions, but he backs them up. And more often than not, they sort of pan out. So add Jahmyr Gibbs to that list there.
He's down here now watching the HBCU Combine, the Legacy Bowl, and Jada Byers. Oh my God, watch out for him, man. He is from Virginia Union. He's a guy that is from Jersey. So you know I got to put it on for my folks. But he's going to be a problem. He's definitely one of those guys I see has a strong opportunity to be drafted this year.
All right. Jada Byers, making a note of that.
Taylor Ham, pork roll guy.
Yeah, Taylor Ham, pork roll.
I got to ask him today that, actually. Thank you, Florio. Florio, you've been on me, man. You've been keeping me honest with that.
I think that should be anytime you meet someone from Jersey, like that should be your content.
First question. Also, will that answer move him up or down your draft board?
Yes, it would actually. It would. You get demoted if Taylor Ham comes out of your mouth. So don't say that.
All right. Good luck, Jada. Good luck, Jada Byers. Anything there you saw in MJD's top 10 that maybe you would shuffle around? LQ.
Yes, I would shuffle around Joe Mixon over, I would say, James Cook and Kyron. And I think Joe Mixon gets a little bit disrespected because, again, this is a running back that can get it done on the ground and also be a threat in the passing game because he can navigate well in the open space. He's hard to bring down. He still has the quick feet. I feel like we're always down on Joe Mixon, and he always just surpasses our expectations.
Joe Mixon, at least in fantasy, before this year, was one of those guys where you really had to look at the week to week versus the overall, right? Because you look at him overall and he always like lands as an RB1 and the numbers, the final totals seem good. And then you go back and you look at the week to week and you remember that the 40-point weeks are great. The 7-point weeks, not so much. Right. And
that's not on him.
What do you mean it's not on him?
That's not all on him. I remember that season 2 years ago. I know exact season because I had the biggest headache with him of starting him. God, this week I had him on the bench and he blew up. Put him in, 3 points. I remember that season very vividly. But he fits very well with the Texans. Like last season, he got hurt. He got banged up and still ended up to be more efficient than he ever was in a Bengals jersey. So I really look at Joe Mixon as a guy we constantly just put down and then just put guys above him just because of their names. And obviously they're good at football as well, too. But Joe Mixon's a guy that needs to be in that mix. I will only change him over Kyron and James Cook. Other than that, I agree with JT, with Josh Jacobs, Bijan, et cetera, all the way up to the board.
I saw a couple names not in the top 10 that jumped out at me.
What's that? Who's that?
Like David Montgomery is 20th. Breece Hall is 22nd. And then Kenneth Williams is 31st.
Breece Hall, I think, is a tough evaluation because obviously the talent and the production didn't match this past year. And like we talked about for our fantasy rankings, there's just so much unknown with the Jets right now that it's really hard to truly, I think, evaluate Breece Hall. I think it's hard to evaluate what his 2024 season was. I think it's hard to project what 2025 is going to be. For what it's worth, he went 11th overall in our mock draft earlier this week. So obviously there's still people who believe in Breece Hall. I think on talent alone, yeah, I only put him behind Jonathan Taylor. I mean, if we're just talking just straight talent, straight ability. But I think within the context of the offense and what it is in New York, I think that makes it hard to try to figure out a little bit. I'm trying to think. I would probably move James Cook down a couple of spots. Certainly behind Mixon, maybe behind. I don't think I could put him behind Aaron Jones. I don't think I can do that. But I think I would drop him maybe a spot. But that's minor.
Isn't Aaron Jones a free agent? Hold on.
He is. He has said he wants to come back. I think the Vikings want to bring him back. So I would expect that relationship is going to continue. I thought he gave them everything they could have asked for this past year. So I would not be surprised if we see them agree to a deal and keep that thing going for another couple of years. So I think he certainly earned that for sure. So I don't know if you want to go check it out though. You can go check out on NFL.com Maurice Jones-Drew's list of the top 74 running backs of this past year. So on Sunday night, there were two big televised events going head to head against each other. There was the NBA All-Star games, since they played a round robin tournament. And then there was the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special. Florio, I think you said you and I were sort of the same, where we both watched SNL over the NBA All-Star game. Laquan, did you choose one over the other, or was it none of the above?
None of the above. I did
not. No, I'm not judging. I was just asking.
I've never watched SNL, to be honest.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
You ever seen clips or anything of?
I saw clips, but if I seen the clip, I wouldn't know that was the show. Like when I was watching Eddie Murphy do Tracy Morgan, I did not know that was that.
Oh yeah,
okay. That was hilarious. By the way,
it was very funny though.
Like I wish I watched, but I was just like, oh, this is funny.
Well, I mean, look, you got time. You're gonna have a flight back. I'm sure I know it's streaming. You can go back and watch it, and get your laugh on a little bit.
Because when I seen the rundown doc, I did go through some of the stuff that was in there. Like I seen Michael Jordan. He was kind of like, okay, funny, but that was 91. I wasn't bored.
Well, I see. That's the thing. It's like, because look, SNL has a long history of having athletes as hosts, as guests, to varying degrees of success, right? Like Michael Jordan, not a great actor. No. I think, like some of the funnier Michael Jordan skits were because the people around him were very funny. Peyton Manning has a couple of really classic skits, including him.
Oh, I watched that. Yeah.
The United Way skit where he's mentoring kids and is basically just pegging kids with a football and stuffing them in porta potties. Comedy gold. I don't know if you have any favorite, Florio, any favorite athlete moments of SNL. Because I can sit here for a while and go through a bunch of them.
I think Peyton Manning is the funniest athlete that I'm trying to think of more recent ones, because I don't feel like they've had a ton of athletes as of late.
No, been a lot more comedians, mostly, and actors.
It's always, SNL is always at its best, I think, when you have a comedian be like, when Dave Chappelle is the guest host, or John Mulaney. Like I will be like, I don't care what I'm doing tonight, I'm watching their monologue because I know it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like when you get people who aren't in that realm, it can be a struggle at times. But Peyton Manning is probably, what I did love they did on the SNL 50 was when they went back and they had like all of their controversial hosts. And there's one big athlete who is very controversial.
One big athlete, yes.
I'm surprised they didn't run from it. I like that.
Orenthal James Simpson was, he appeared on SNL at least once, maybe more than once.
No way.
Well, so you have to understand, because Laquan, I don't know, were you around in 1994, 95 for like the OJ
We're
trial?
the same age. LQ, you definitely grew up knowing OJ is what he is now known for. Like, I didn't learn he was a Bills player until way later in my life.
He played football. I swear.
Right.
I did not know he played football and ran for like 2,000 yards.
Yeah. Like, there is definitely a line of demarcation in American culture about what you know OJ for. People born after a certain time only know him as the guy who's accused of murder and went through a trial. I didn't see him play. I was born after his playing career ended, but I knew he was a football player. I knew he played for the 49ers at the end of his career because he grew up in San Francisco. It was a homecoming. But I knew OJ as like being a sideline reporter, being a sports commentator, and also for him being an actor. And for OJ to have been accused of murder at that point, I don't know if it was on this show or someone I was talking to, we were trying to equate it to like somebody today. And the closest we came up with was if The Rock suddenly had been, no, but literally, like if The Rock was accused, if Dwayne Johnson was accused of murder, right? Like a guy who had an athletic career, who has gone on to become a huge star in TV and movies. Like that was that was kind of OJ. Like he had that sort of presence about him in American pop culture.
Too, right? I mean, and you're a USC guy, so like,
yep.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a huge deal. But yeah, like when he hosted SNL, like it made sense. Like OJ was a star and he had a great personality and a great smile. Like all of it made sense back then. And like now you look back on it, you're like, yeah. But like then it fit. It fit.
Were you at USC when it happened, Marcus?
No. So when the murders happened, I was a senior in high school. I was still in the Bay Area. And in fact, I remember like the day the news broke, going to like my second period math class or something. And this kid who I kind of thought was annoying, I didn't really enjoy talking to, he came up to me and he said, "So do you think OJ did it?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Do you think OJ murdered his wife?" And my response was, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Get away from me."
You don't talk about the USC legend like that.
I don't even think I had really committed to going to USC. It was like OJ Simpson. Like, what do you mean accused of murder? Like it did not compute like at all.
It must have been hard on campus because like I'm sure they had a lot of stuff dedicated to him.
Yeah, it was interesting because at the time, like you could still go to what they call Heritage Hall, which is where all the it's where the athletic department is located, and all like his Heisman Trophy was still there. But it wasn't like we had people just roaming campus looking for OJ stuff. Like the campus itself was still pretty insulated from the outside world. Like maybe like Good Morning America or the Today Show at the height of the trial might have shown up on campus. But it wasn't like it was OJ Central during the trial at all. So I was like, the trial happened during my freshman and sophomore years. It took place over a good year and a half. So it went through the first couple years of my college career there. But yeah, OJ was on SNL once upon a time. I'll say some of the other great athlete skits. Charles Barkley did a couple good ones. Tom Brady did one, and the meme where the handsome guy says something to a woman and she's like, "Hey," and she's all like, whatever. And then the overweight kind of nerdy pimply guy says something and it's like, "Hello, HR." Tom Brady basically did a skit like that where he was obviously the handsome guy, and so when he went and approached his female coworkers about going out, it was not sexual harassment. But when Fred Armisen asked for something, immediately HR was called on him. So that was a good one. Joe Montana had a very good one where he was a roommate who said immediately everything that was on his mind. The kicker to the skit was a line that I cannot say here. I'll tell you guys once the show's over.
I like this.
It's hilarious. So, but I thought overall it was a really well done special. Laquan, I know you've never watched the show. I would say that it's a good way on your flight back. Maybe if you can download it and watch it on the flight.
You know what would get me to start watching the show?
What's
that? Get Jameis Winston on there. Get Jameis on there, and I will be locked in for the entire duration.
I think would be fun. Like, I don't know if he's a big enough name outside of football.
Yeah,
to make it worthwhile.
Give him the shot. Give him the opportunity. He's good for TV fun.
The clip that Marcus sent us of Will Ferrell playing the piano and singing "Not Like Us" that's from SNL.
Yes.
Oh, yes. That is beautiful.
There it is.
That is beautiful.
So, yep. So there you go. That's our new goal is to get Laquan to watch at least some. You don't have to watch a whole episode, but at least watch some SNL.
I kind of want to watch the old ones. If I could watch like the old ones from like the 90s
on Peacock, I'm pretty sure you can.
Oh, I'm sure Peacock has them all. Yeah, Peacock has all of them. So go back and dig through
all 50 seasons. It shouldn't take you too long to get caught up.
Yeah, there it is. I'll send you some. We'll send you some clips so you can dive in and check out a few of them. So. All right, we have gone way off topic here to end this show, so maybe we should just pull the show on this one. Oh, good. I was involved too, so I can't blame anybody but myself. So there you go. That'll do it for this edition of the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. Stay happy, safe, and healthy. Do good and live well. Eat something delicious, Laquan. Be safe. Enjoy New Orleans. For the rest of you, we will talk to you all next week.